making nata, which are those delicious little Portuguese tarts that you get in the cafe with those sort of brownie caramel top, you know, those
Portuguese custard tarts.
Yeah.
I wanted to make the pastry, but Lenny said we've got to use pre-bought puff pastry. No, I'm fine with that, but what I would like to do in a future episode, is make the Chinese version, which uses a sort of short crust pastry you can make yourself. So preheating the oven to 200 degrees Celsius.
220, 435 Fahrenheit. The Chinese ones aren't with Chinese ones aren't with short crust pastry.
It is a type of short crust pastry. It is.
If anyone knows out there what kind of pastry you use in tart, I know my inflection is off wildly, then please do let us know. Tinny thing. I mean, it says muffin tins in the recipe, which, by the way, is from Allegra Macavady off the Word of Mouth food blog. I looked at some muffin tins. They were like this big, you know, they were absolutely gigantic.
Cupcake tin or patty cake tin.
It's not as small as a mini muffin, but it's not as
gigantic. To me, that's custard tart size.
Yeah.
Why do you need to butter it? I mean, that's not.
Well, because that's what. Well, it is, but that's what the recipe says.
Maybe it crisps the pastry up or something like that.
Yeah. 275 mils of milk to make the custard need to go into a pot on the boil.
A cup and a bit, that is.
Also, we've got to put in 250
plus 25.
There you go. Now I need the zest of an orange and half a vanilla and a vanilla pod.
It's our microplane style zester device.
Okay.
So the orange zest goes in now into the milk, does it?
Yeah. Got to be very careful that doesn't boil. So actually, I'm just going to turn it down. So I've got to split the vanilla pod and take the seeds out. Oh God. Oh.
Jeez, you're making hard work.
Well, it's not as easy as I said. They make it look easy on the telly.
What are you doing?
I'm taking the seeds out.
Don't you scrape them? I thought you scraped them out with a spoon. Just scrape them out with a spoon.
No,
look, get a little
not
teaspoon.
A spoon. It's not sharp enough. Okay, well, I'll show you. This is what happens when you scrape it out with a spoon. Oh, they come out. Okay. I was wrong. I can hear that milk boiling. It's all right to boil. Crap.
Vanilla pod's been added to the milk.
Just the pods, not the seeds. So there's the seeds for later. Just before it boils, turn it off.
Hang on.
Just before it boils, turn it off. So I'm going to turn it off.
Okay.
Roll out the pastry, 3mm thickness.
I guess you can always put back what you don't need.
Yeah.
And roll it back up. Yeah, well that's probably 3mm now.
We've got these cookie cutter things, biscuit cutters.
I think that's about...
I think it's going to be too small.
Well, it's the biggest one we've got.
Let's try one. I suppose I could sort of just stretch it a bit if it's...
No, I think that's... I mean, that's fine. I think that's fine.
Yeah.
So how many of them? A dozen of them.
Yeah.
I don't think it matters if they're a bit rough around the edges like that.
No, but one thing I think you do have to be really careful of is not to let an air bubble get in the bottom. Push the air bubbles out, because if that happens, it'll rise up from the bottom and the custard will overflow.
Last one.
Yeah, 4 egg yolks, 150 grams of white sugar, 1.5 tablespoons of flour, and the seed.
So you're
going to vanilla poddy bits.
You're going to take the yolks out of 4 eggs, right?
Yep. Why did I do that?
I don't know. I was sitting here thinking, you can do it through your fingers now. There's the juggling method of... There you go. That's probably the best method of all, I reckon.
Yeah.
So,
right,
sugar, 150 grams. That's a lot of sugar.
Yeah, it's custard was. That's what's in custard.
Is there mustard in custard?
Feeling a bit flustered. Beat that in until it's very fluffy. You've got to make sure it's quite... Do you know, is it like a sponge cake where you've got to get it super...
Well, that looks a bit gritty still to me. That's probably enough. Beyond that. Yep. That's pale.
1.5 tablespoons of plain flour. One.
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, half
a tablespoon.
seeds.
So a fresher vanilla pod in that one, if you please.
Flour's mixed in now. We've got to pour in that warm milk, but we want to strain out the...
I think you need to warm the milk up a bit again because it's probably gone cold by now, hasn't it?
I don't
Just
think
heat it
so.
up for a sec because it's been sitting there. Oh, well, that's starting to fizzle around the edges, so that's probably warm enough now, eh?
Take out the vanilla pods. You're going to have to hold this for me because I need to strain it and whisk at the same time. Because you don't want the milk to cook the egg, I guess. It smells good, hey? Okay, so that's mixed in.
I'll move these over here so we can actually see what's going on.
So, fill it to the brim.
Fill them to the brim.
Oh, do you know what? Oh, God. I can see air pockets all over here. This is terrible. There's one in here as well. It's just going to bubble up.
Have you had experience of this before, or are you? There's one there.
No, I just know, Waz. I've got some common sense. I can tell, you know, what's going to happen. Okay, let's fill these up.
It's paler looking than I would have expected.
Yeah, me too.
So into the oven. Gingerly, I say, gingerly.
15 to 25 minutes, and
What's
if they're
the
not
temperature again?
220 Celsius for 35 Fahrenheit, if they're not browning, we've got to turn the grill on to give some heat from above.
We can probably cook them and then after grill them. Just give them a quick blast. So 15 minutes later, roughly.
Oh,
they're swollen. They're all puffed up.
They'll go down. Okay, that's 15. I think, well, they're brown. Let's turn them off.
Turn them off, take them out, heat them up.
I think the pastry doesn't quite look like I hoped it would. Now, how long should we give them to cool? About half an hour?
I reckon we leave them for half an hour. I want a tongue left in my head to taste them with. So we've given them half an hour and they've slumped down. They're looking a lot more like the sort of shop bought ones now, aren't they?
Yeah.
There we go.
Are you just
There's the finished article. Well, let's get two of them out and take them to the table and have a taste test, shall we? They do look pretty authentic, don't they? I would say that the pastry isn't as sort of flaky as I would expect with a shop bought one, but I've never bought one in Portugal, so I don't know. I mean, but if you go and buy them, generally you get a very flaky, shattery sort of pastry, don't you?
No, not flaky and shattery, more flaky and stretchy. Anyway, let's bite into the pastry and see. Wow. But you can see from mine there, you know, there's not that much custard. And you know where I went wrong?
Where?
There were too many frothing bubbles on top of the custard when I poured it in. And so it rose up quite high. I couldn't get as much custard in. So I'd be careful.
But they're pretty, when you buy them, they're pretty concave. You know, the bought ones. I thought they were going to be too orangey tasting, but the pastry sort of diminishes that, doesn't it? And also the burnt-y sort ofness, cuts through the...
They're really easy to make, aren't they?
They're pretty easy, yeah. For something that seems like a very special sort of exotic pastry item to me, they're really quite easy to make. Just a bit of pre-bought pastry. And you've nearly finished yours already. I've had like one bite out of mine.
It's really good. And you can do them the day before.
Just as good the next day.